What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing my haul for the month of March, which I realize I'm always late on these. But you guys, I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry. There was a lot going on. So, for the month of March, did a lot of different things. I got a lot of gifts and stuff as well, and just a few things. I really didn't go too wild, but had a little extra money to get some stuff that I've been meaning to get, so I got it. Got some pre-orders in as well, so let's check it out. First up, we got 13 Slays to Xmas, till Xmas, I should say. Now, this is a movie that's an anthology that came out, and one of my buddies who did the short called The Conduit that I did some music in for, that you can watch on Prime right now, actually. He did a segment in this one that is really good. And I want to review this really bad, but it isn't the holiday season, and this came out just a little late because of the whole COVID thing. But I've heard a lot of good things about this release, and I'm going to be saving this one for the end of the year for us to do a holiday horror sort of thing on this anthology, and probably pair it with another holiday horror one as well. Have you guys seen this one? Have you picked it up as well? I had to get a copy for myself. So, up next, we got Zombie on 4K from Blue Underground, which, man, this thing looks phenomenal in 4K. Holy shit. This is my preferred choice now. I know some of you guys are like, fuck that, I'll watch it on VHS still. I still have my VHS. Well, I don't know if I have the VHS of this one anymore, but I do have the DVD and the Blu-ray. But, which I like to keep a lot of Fulci favorites. But this one looks really good. It's been a pricey one. I don't remember what I picked this one up for, but I got it anyway because I needed to add it to my collection because I've been steadily growing my 4K selections of horror, and this had to be in there. This is not, by the way, my favorite one. The one that I'm looking forward to most that comes out in 4K from Lucio Fulci is always and will always be City of the Living Dead. So Blue Underground, where you at? Up next, we got Prince of Darkness, which is a kind of an underrated John Carpenter film. It's one of those films that have grown on me over the years as I've watched it and rewatched it and kept rewatching it. And man, does this look fucking amazing in 4K HDR. There is like I think it's a triple set where it's got like 3 Carpenter movies in 4K, but it doesn't have any of the extra features and stuff like that. This has some pretty good extra features in it that I really enjoyed. And I'll be honest, the more and more I watch this movie, the more and more I enjoy it. John Carpenter's attempt to marry science and religion into one movie. And it kind of does some pretty wild stuff in this movie that I think is not only creepy, atmospheric, and kind of fun at times. Like, it's just out there, man. And the end of the transmission that they keep seeing in this movie is something that scares a lot of people. Something that you might want to revisit if you haven't in a long time. But I'm glad I got this on 4K. Came with the slip cover, of course, so this is from Scream Factory, by the way. They've been doing some 4K releases. Seems like a lot of the companies now are starting to pump these out, whether they be HDR or not. This, however, I believe is HDR. Yeah. Both of these are HDR, and I love it. Ready for death. Up next, I got a gift. This is When Blackbirds Fly. This is the sequel to, I think it's a sequel, but it's from Screamer Claus, who not only was a DJ in the hardcore, techno scene, raves and shit like that, but he also does a lot of, really fucked up video shit. And I have Where the Dead Go to Die. Was really fucked up. I borrowed it to a friend, and I'm hoping he still has it because, my God, that movie is over $100 now, and it's almost impossible to get. So he's had it for years, and I need to get it back. But Plemke, one of my viewers on our Twitch stream, and also listeners of the podcast, actually donated this to the podcast. So we'll be watching this probably with the other one, that if I can get it back. Fingers crossed. This is some 3D animation, crazy stuff. He's like a visual artist, and he does a lot of really messed up stuff. It really pushes the boundaries. The first movie was really fucked up. But I've yet to see this one, so I think it definitely deserves to be paired with the other one. So, have you guys seen this one? What did you think? And thanks, Plemke. Up next, got another 4K transfer of Daybreakers, which this was another viewer's gift from my Twitch stream who's been following me for like 7 years, and he's a good buddy of mine. We call him Random Viewer, and he donated this along with the next movie. This is a vampire action drama film with Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe, and Sam Neill's performance in this is amazing. We actually just did an episode of this just a week or two ago, so if you want to check out like what we thought of this movie, I think it's underrated. I didn't like it the first time I saw it, but it's one of those movies that have kind of grown on me, and every time I've watched it, I really enjoy it. It's actually really good. Not perfect, but it's damn good. The aesthetics, the look, the feel, everything in this movie. It's about the future of when vampires take over the world and there's hardly any humans left, and they're running out of our stock, people, human blood, and they're gonna go crazy and feral if they don't eat blood soon or come up with a substitute. So this is that story about that. It's pretty cool, man. Thank you, by the way, Random, for sending this to me. I appreciate that. Up next, we got What Keeps You Alive, which was a sort of like a serial killer thriller independent film that I got to see a couple years ago that was in my top 20 of horror for, I think it was 2018. But this was a really big surprise. It's about two girls that go out on some sort of vacation, and then they get hunted by a serial killer. Some real genuine thrills, and the soundtrack in this is actually pretty good. They even have a song that they keep playing by the end that I really enjoy, and I actually added it to my playlist. Random Viewer bought this for me as well, and I'm really glad to own it because I think it's a really underrated film, and a lot of people I don't think they've really heard of it, but it's worth a watch. It's definitely independent, so definitely expect that, but I enjoy it. I think it's a really good film. Definitely one for that year.
Probably thinking we're in love, right?
Up next, we got Psycho Goreman, baby. That's right. This movie just came out this year. Well, it was at festivals, I think, last year, but it just came out, and you can pick it up now on Blu-ray in any region that you want. I did an interview with the director, Steven Kostanski. I'm a big fan of him and his movie The Void and Leprechaun Returns he did. Not the weird one where they tried to reboot it. We did an interview with him, and we also did a review of this movie for the podcast. So if you aren't listening to the podcast, guys, you're really missing out on a lot of really fun talks about a lot of different things. And you should be checking out that YouTube video with Steve Kostanski. Definitely a top film for this year for me so far. There's a lot more to go. So, we'll see where we end up.
Nice meeting you.
It would be nicer if you were dead.
Up next, we got Biozombie. You can kind of see it at the top there. But Biozombie is a Hong Kong film that I've always kind of enjoyed for many, many years. It's a very independent style film, and it's also from the guy who did Ip Man. So if you're unfamiliar with Ip Man, it is probably one of the cooler action flicks that you've seen. Probably seen it on Netflix. They have like 4 or 5 now. Really big franchise, but the director of this actually directed those movies, and I am a big fan of this one because it's a really fun sort of Shaun of the Dead style in Hong Kong, where these guys go to a mall and they unleash a zombie apocalypse. It's really funny, really tongue-in-cheek, just a lot of fun, and a lot of people that have watched it really enjoy it. It's one of those films that really needs to get more attention, and it came out like in 1998. Feels like an 80s movie almost, but it's definitely got its 90s style in there for sure. But we just reviewed this on our podcast as well, so if you want to hear more about this and how much we loved it, you should check that out. Up next, we got Tokyo, the Last Megapolis. Now, this is part of the live-action animes and mangas that I love. I like to collect these films because they end up doing some pretty wild, schlocky, crazy stuff on the screen that you're normally not going to see from a lot of films. These guys have like a very small budget, and they're like, hey, go make a, live action manga of this. and it turns out so terribly awesome. Like, it's one of those so bad it's good kind of things. Although this one's been a little while since I've seen it. I own it on VHS, but I wanted to get a copy on DVD. Unfortunately, this is the widescreen edition that's based in 4:3. So what they did is it's a 4:3 transfer with a widescreen, which sucks, in my opinion. It's like they box it and then they widescreen it, so it floats somewhere in the middle of the screen, which it really kind of pisses me off a little bit. But I'm glad I own it because it's one of those things that I just like to collect. Have you guys seen the original anime? I don't even know if it's a manga, but I know it's an anime. Have you seen that? And have you seen this? What did you think? Let me know. Up next, we got the very controversial found footage film trilogy. This is the third in the trilogy, called Fear Footage 3 a.m., which we just reviewed on the podcast as well. We also did the first two on a separate podcast episode that's older, but if you want to check those out, you can definitely check it out. A lot of people will have a lot of different opinions about this franchise in particular, but this is probably one of the smallest, biggest, widespread found footage films that I've ever heard of. The person that did this, Ricky Umberger, who is the director and writer and creator of this, literally spent, like, we're talking like the first movie was like, I think $600-700. Second movie about the same, maybe even less. And then the third movie he spent like $2,000 on. So he spent for 3 movies about close to $3,000. I mean, there's something to be said about that. Now, there is arguments to be had about this. People are like, oh, it's cheaply made. I'm like, yeah, that's because it's not got a lot of budget. The ideas in here and some of the scares and things that are in the franchise, I really enjoy. And it's just one of those things that I've just kind of grown to like. Wasn't necessarily the biggest fan the first time I saw it, and I'm still not. I think I gave the first one like a 7, maybe 7.5 for what it did on its budget. Second one, I kind of liked a little bit better than the first one. And this one, it's a step back, somewhere in between the two of the first two. I still admire it. I still enjoy it. And I'm glad I have it in my collection. Are you a fan of this, or do you absolutely hate it? Sound off in the comments below. Last but not least, we got another gifty from Plemke. So he knows that I'm a big fan of Sam Neill, first of all, and also Sam Neill in horror in particular. I love Event Horizon is one of those films that is a really good sci-fi horror film that is basically like Hellraiser in space. The lost footage that's in this film may never be found. They did find some stuff that wasn't the graphic horror scenes, because in this movie there are some hellacious scenes that got completely cut and thrown on the cutting room floor and burned, literally burned, because they didn't really keep the footage of these things for some big budget movies back then. I remember they had like a 2 VHS box set when this came out, and this was like right on the cusp of when DVDs were starting to take the market, and they never kept the actual footage that would have been on the floor, and people have been wanting it so bad. So I don't think we'll ever get to see it, but this has some extra stuff in it that does include some missing stuff, not the hell stuff that we've been wanting, but this is a Scream Factory release that I am glad to own and have. I do have another copy of it, so I'll probably be giving that one away. It's not the Scream Factory, but at least it'll be in our giveaways. So you can sign up for that at longlivethevoid.com under our VIP club section. Thank you, Plemke, for sending this one out. I really appreciate it, man. He's been just fucking donating like movies like crazy, and I have like a back catalog that I owe him a review of. So if you guys ever want to pick anything up for me on Amazon or us, and we can review it on the podcast or on the YouTube, you can specify. We have a large list of stuff in the Amazon shopping list. I'll put a link down below if you're ever interested. Just give me your name in the when you send it to us, and where you want us to do it on, and we'll do it.
A dimension of pure chaos.
But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the month of March. Now, April is already big, I can tell you right now, because I had my birthday celebration, and not only did I buy a bunch of movies with my birthday money, but I had a lot of people donating, so it really helped me to get a lot of movies, so we're going to have a lot to look forward to, guys. Other than that, thank you guys so much for spending time with me. Hopefully I helped you find a movie that you haven't seen yet or you want to check out. But thanks for coming by, and as always, long live the void.